Maharaj. I was deeply moved by the dialogues in the book Talks with Ramana Maharishi. While answering questions posed by visitors to his ashram in Tiruvannamalai, Tamil Nadu, Ramana Maharishi kept hammering the same point. Self-awareness is more important than world improvement and self-improvement. In fact, according to Ramana Maharishi, everything is ever perfect. This view was very different from what I experienced. However, looking back, I was ready to consider it a possibility. After 2 years in Austin, we moved to Bangalore, India, with our 6-month-old son. Over the next decade, I got busy with corporate and family life, and self-discovery took a back seat. Over the years, I got promoted in my place of work, and yet remained skeptical of my apparent progress. During this period, I began to study the process of automatic and intuitive thinking, starting with the book Blink by Malcolm Gladwell. This thread led me to a YouTube video of a lecture by Nobel laureate Daniel Kahneman, entitled Explorations of the Mind, which he had delivered at the University of California, Berkeley. Here, Kahneman talks about the biases and systematic errors of judgment that the human mind is subjected to. I might have listened to the lecture dozens of times. After a few years, Kahneman's Thinking, Fast and Slow got published, and I studied the book, at least the initial chapters, very carefully. Kahneman had not only brought the term cognitive illusion to the mainstream, but also presented short experiments to test it on oneself. I began to experiment and started to notice my biases. The corporate world demands that you keep running faster and faster. I realized that I was not comfortable doing that. So I quit my job and started to freelance. I was lucky and kept getting projects. I was also fortunate to find collaborators like Professor Rishikesh Krishnan of Indian Institute of Management, Bangalore, otherwise known as IIMB, with whom I co-wrote 8 Steps to Innovation, From Jugaad to Excellence. The book was well received by both industry experts and academia. A turning point in my journey came when I visited Ramanashram in Tiruvannamalai for a couple of days in 2011. We had just finished the first draft of the book, and I needed a break. The visit foregrounded the process of self-discovery. After I returned to Bangalore, a question was raised: how to experiment in exploring the real nature of self? A Google search led me to Eckhart Tolle's A New Earth. Thanks to my father, the book was lying on a bookshelf nearby. On page 255, Eckhart says, "I suggest you conduct an experiment." He then describes the experiment. I was thrilled. I jumped into experimentation mode with a newfound vigor. I also listened to Eckhart's 10-part interview with Oprah Winfrey dozens of times. Each session was based on one chapter of the book, and it had viewers video calling from all over the world. In some of the interviews, Eckhart talks about movies to illustrate his point. For example, he has talked about A Beautiful Mind and the Groundhog Day in his interviews. I found these metaphors appealing. Slowly, I began to discover more such metaphors from movies, magic shows, and other videos made available on the internet. I began to write about my experiments in my blog. This was in 2014, the same year I was asked about how to clear a cluttered mind in my innovation workshop. That year, I also attended my first seated meditation retreat, a 10-day Vipassana course held in the outskirts of Bangalore. It was anchored in a Buddhist practice carried over for centuries in Myanmar, erstwhile Burma. The course was designed by S.N. Goenka, a Burmese Indian teacher of meditation. The retreat was rigorous, disciplined, and without a teacher. While I enjoyed the solitude, I remained skeptical of the necessity to do long hours of seated meditation. In the same year, my father gave me Boehm's Thought as a System to read. The book is an edited transcript of a seminar